Monster by Walter D. Myers, page 263. Cut to exterior courtroom. The doors of the court are closed as the camera nears it. The door is pushed open. We see the interior of the courtroom. We see the jury turned toward the judge, who speaks in a quiet, almost fatherly manner. We hear his voice as the camera seems to settle down on a seat. Steve, sensing that a friend has arrived, turns and tries to smile at Mr. Sawicki, but cannot manage it through his nervousness. We look around the courtroom as the judge's voice drifts in and out. Judge: if you believe that Mr. King was a participant in the robbery, whether he actually pulled the trigger or not, you must return a verdict of guilty. If you believe, cut to Stuart portrait of George Washington on right wall. Cut to New York State flag, then American flag. Cut to motto over desk. Judge: that Mr. Herman did go into the store with the purpose of, voice fades out, without regard to who actually pulled the trigger. Cut to wall mural. Cut to jury. Cut to close-up of judge. Judge: then you must return a verdict of guilty of felony murder. Camera, from point of view of Steve's mother, swings wildly around the room, stopping momentarily at those symbols that fill the courtroom. Throughout this time, the last words of the judge are repeated. Judge: then you must return a verdict of guilty of felony murder. Then you must return a verdict of guilty of felony murder. Then you must return a verdict of guilty of felony murder. Fade out. Fade in. Steve in cell. For the first time, James King is in the cell with him. King leans against the wall, still dressed in the clothes he wore at the trial. King: how you doing? You scared? Steve: yeah. You? King, subdued: nah, ain't nothing to it. If the man wants you, he got you. Ain't nothing to it, man. Guard: hey, we got a pool going. I bet you guys get life without the possibility of parole. The guys on the next block think you're going to get 25 to life. You guys want in on it? Cut to Steve. He looks away, then buries his face in his hands. Cut to guard. He is smirking. Guard: that a yes or a no? Cut to two young men handcuffed together, being led to the next cell. One looks terrified. The other is putting on a show of bravado. Guard: you guys treat me nice, and I'll put in a word for you up at Greenhaven. Maybe I can get you a boyfriend that's really built. Cut to Steve in the mess hall. He avoids looking at King. There's a shoving match down from where he sits. An inmate reaches over and takes Steve's meat with a fork. Steve looks up and sees the taker looking at him menacingly. He looks down at the tray. Cut to Steve in cell. Outside the cell, there's a clock on the wall with a wire guard over it. The second hand moves slowly. Cut to inmates enjoying a domino game as if they are far away from the prison in some friendly setting. Friday afternoon, July 17th. Last night I was afraid to go to sleep. It was as if closing my eyes was going to cause me to die. There's nothing more to do. There are no more arguments to make. Now I understand why so many of the guys who have been through it before, who have been away to prison, keep talking about appeals. They want to continue the argument, and the system has said that it is over. My case fills me. When I left the courtroom after the judge's instructions to the jury, I saw Mama clinging to my father's arm. There was a look of desperation on her face. For a moment I felt sorry for her, but I don't anymore. The only thing I can think of is my case. Listen to guys talking about appeals, and I'm already planning mine. Every word that has been said in court is burned into my brain. Steve Harmon made a moral decision, as Petrocelli said. Think about December of last year. What was the decision I made? To walk down the street? To get up in the morning? To talk to King? What decisions did I make? What decisions didn't I make? But I don't want to think about decisions, just my case. Nothing is real around me except the panic. The panic and the movies that dance through my mind. I keep editing the movies, making the scenes right, sharpening the dialogue. A get-over? I don't do get-overs, I say in the movie in my mind, my chin tilted slightly upward. I know what is right. I know what right is, what truth is. I don't do tight ropes, moral or otherwise. I put strings in the background, cellos, violas. Guard: King, Harmon, you got a verdict. Let's go. Cut to courtroom. Now fairly crowded. O'Brien is talking to Judge. She finishes and sits down next to Steve. O'Brien: they got a verdict this morning. They've just been waiting for the Nesbitt family to arrive. Steve: what do you think? O'Brien: they have a verdict. Hope it's one we want to hear, no matter what it is. We can't continue your case. We can appeal. You okay? Steve: no. Judge: is everybody here? Is everybody here? Clerk: I think so. Judge: prosecution ready? Petrocelli: ready. Judge: defense? Cut to close-up of O'Brien. O'Brien: ready. Cut to close-up of Judge. Judge: bring in the jury. Very long shot as words roll slowly over the screen as in the beginning. This is the true story of Steve Harmon. This is the story of his life and of his trial. We see the jury members taking their places in the jury box. It was not an episode that he expected. It was not the life or activity that he thought would fill every bit of his soul or change what life meant to him. The judge has read the verdicts and hands them to the clerk as guards stand behind the defendants. He has transcribed the images and conversations as he remembers them. The color begins to fade as the jury foreman reads verdicts. Two guards begin to put handcuffs on James King as color changes to black and white. It is clear that the jury has found him guilty. We see King being taken from the courtroom. We see jury foreman as he continues to read. Cut to close-up of Steve's mother. We see her desperately clasping her hands before her, her face distorted with the tension of the moment. Then suddenly, dramatically, she lifts her hands high and closes her eyes. Cut to the guards who are standing behind Steve move away from him. He's been found not guilty. Steve turns toward O'Brien. His camera closes in, and film grows grainier. Steve spreads his arms to hug O'Brien, but she stiffens and turns to pick up her papers from the table before them. Cut to close-up of O'Brien. Her lips tense. She is pensive. She gathers her papers and moves away as Steve, arms still outstretched, turns toward the camera. His image is in black and white, and the grain is nearly broken. Looks like one of the pictures they use for psychological testing or some strange beast, a monster. The image freezes. His last words roll and stop mid-screen. A Steve Harmon fill. December, 5 months later. It is 5 months since the trial, almost a year minus a few days since the robbery in the drugstore. James King was sentenced to 25 years to life. Osvaldo was arrested for stealing a car and sent to a reformatory. As far as I know, Bobo is still in jail. My mother doesn't understand what I am doing with the films I'm making. I've been taking movies of myself. In the movies, I talk and tell the camera who I am, what I think I am about. Sometimes I set the camera up outside and walk up to it from different angles. Sometimes I set the camera up in front of a mirror and film myself as a reflection. I wear different clothes and sometimes try to change my voice. Jerry likes to use the camera, and I let him film me too. Whatever I do pleases my mother because I am here with her and not put away in some jail. After the trial, my father, with tears in his eyes, held me close and said he was thankful that I did not have to go to jail. He moved away, and the distance between us seemed to grow bigger and bigger. I understand the distance. My father is no longer sure of who I am. He doesn't understand me even knowing people like King or Bobo or Osvaldo. He wonders what else he doesn't know. That is why I take the films of myself. I want to know who I am. I want to know who I am. I want to know the road to panic that I took. I want to look at myself 1,000 times to look for one true image. When Miss O'Brien looked at me after we had won the case, what did she see that caused her to turn away? What did she see? The end.